Welcome to the Money is Emotional podcast with Christine Luken, the financial dignity coach. In this podcast, we help you recover a positive and peaceful relationship with your personal finances. We do this by bringing together wise money management with emotional intelligence. Join us for this journey where we navigate our relationship with money as Christine Luken draws from years of experience and guest experts to help you get to the root of your money issues.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Money is Emotional podcast. I am your host, Christine Luken. Today's episode is Provider Money, Pleasure Money. We're discussing how to balance these two energies in your personal finances. As usual, my producer is joining me. Bill, thanks for hanging out today.
Oh, no. I love hanging out with you. You kidding? It's great. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. And we're in the holiday spirit. I got my red sweater on. You got your green background.
I feel like I should sing. Can I sing Christmas carols in the background or something? That'd be okay. La, 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 la.
You have a better singing voice than me. You than me.
Whoa, trust me. Nobody wants to hear me singing on your podcast. Your numbers would fall off a cliff. That would be not so cool.
Please don't stop listening.
Be good. But you said something here, and I'm going to stop and call time out, okay? Because I want to know what, my dear friend, is provider money and pleasure money, for crying out loud. What do you mean?
Yes. So these are the two energies of personal finance. Sometimes people call this the yin and yang, the masculine and the feminine energy. Mm-hmm. Although I don't really like the label masculine and feminine because I don't want to pull in the whole, battle of the sexes kind of thing. But if we think of it from the Eastern philosophy of the yin and yang energy, the
yin
provider
being really tight and yin being expansive.
Yes. So the provider money is about the safety, the security, the structure, the protection part of your finances. The pleasure energy is that yang energy, which is the enjoyment, the expansion, the receiving, more of the going with the flow. Both of these are important in our personal finances. And traditionally, personal finance, most of the gurus have focused on that yin energy, the provider energy. It's the budgeting and the structure and following this list of rules. Those things can be helpful. But if we don't have any fun or any enjoyment in the picture, then we're probably not going to want to stick with that. And it's very interesting because, you and I both know one of my most popular episode is episode 13, which is where I disagree with Dave Ramsey. And he is very much the provider, that masculine energy of money.
That yin energy you're talking about, yes.
Yes. And his approach is very extreme. If you listen to him, he will tell you just cut everything out, buckle down, get real extreme, gazelle intensity for a couple of years, and then you can have fun. Most people rebel against that. Most people cannot be hyper-disciplined for several years. Most of my coaching clients in the early years, confession, were people who were Dave Ramsey dropouts.
Ooh.
I taught his course at the church I went to at the time for 10 years. When I got my coaching certification, my first clients, many of them were people who had gone through the class in the past and had flunked out of it. They had quit. They said, I did really good for X amount of months, and then we fell off the wagon. And some of them were actually in worse shape than when they had started. And that's when I realized this is out of balance. People can't be taking this extreme of an approach. I mean, there might be 5 or 10% of the population that actually thrive on that. They thrive on the structure, and if it's really hard and challenging, then that lights their fire. But that's not most of us.
No.
And so we need to bring in that pleasure energy into our finances in a balanced way.
Right.
The easiest way for me to explain this, and you're going to think this is so weird, is the circus trapeze. Okay, but you can picture this in your mind, right? You can picture the person on the trapeze swing flying through the air. Well, me and
everybody in the audience are going, okay, we're going to hang on for this one because we don't know where Christina's going.
In order to have a successful trapeze, you need 2 pieces of equipment. You need the safety net and the swing. If you have a swing and no safety net, that's not fun. That's freaking terrifying. If you have a safety net and no swing, then you have missed the point entirely. Right? That's nothing worth looking at.
You don't have an act. Yeah, you don't have anything.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
So it is important that you have those 2 pieces of equipment. Now, one of the things I tell people is, depending on the strength of your safety net, that is going to determine the height of your swing. So if you have not been good about saving money, if you have a lot of debt, if you don't have a good, strong safety net, your swing might only be able to be 8 or 10 feet off the ground. Now, if you've got a super strong safety net, then you can hang your swing from the stars because you're good. So these 2 things work in tandem with each other. And sometimes I will also use the analogy of your financial house. We've heard this, people say, is your financial house in order? Well, if we think about building a house, you don't hang the curtains before the roof is in place. Why?
True.
Because those curtains are going to get ruined.
Right.
Now, picking out shingles is not nearly as fun as picking out paint colors and throw pillows and curtains and all of that fun stuff, like putting artwork on the wall and what sort of flowers are we going to put into it. Like, we get all excited about that kind of stuff. However, if we don't have a solid foundation, if the studs of the walls are not properly in place, if we don't have drywall and bricks or siding and a roof, all of that fun stuff is going to get ruined.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean while you're building a house, you can't buy a throw pillow in anticipation for using it. However,
but don't throw it on the floor till the house is done.
Exactly. However, if you owe your contractors for the siding and the roof, and instead you spend that money on furniture, you're probably going to have a problem with your financial house. So it's really about putting those first things first. So both of these energies are necessary and they are important for your finances to be in a healthy balance.
Yeah, and I get that, and I understand that, but I think it's really easy for people to talk about finances being in balance, and it's harder to achieve that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe I have a problem, and I'm not being smart or anything. I sometimes have a problem with my own finances where I think, in the context of what you're talking about, I maybe have too much pleasure money in my finances.
You might not.
What do I do about that, or how do I know that?
Well, let's talk about what it looks like when one of these is out of balance. So let's talk about the the pleasure energy first. And Dave Ramsey loves to skewer the people who have too much of the pleasure energy, who call up his show and tell him about all of these frivolous purchases that they've made with debt. So out of balance pleasure energy, this can show up as entitlement. It can show up as neglect of taking care of your personal finances. It can be disorganization and or financial drama. So this was my ex-fiance, Jeff, who we talked about extensively in the first episode. Very irresponsible with money, waiting for somebody else to bail him out, spending the rent money on weed. True story.
Oh, just by the way, can I just stop you for 1 second? For anybody who has not listened to the first couple of episodes of this podcast, please do go back and listen to them at another point, because the origin story involving Christine, where she was and how she got to where she is today is number one, a really good story, and number two, a compelling listen, and important to understand that this woman knows what she is talking about. Okay.
Yes.
All of the weed instead of rent money, not her, but her ex-fiance.
Yes. Yeah. So some of the symptoms are things like your bills are paid late, your credit score is low, there's never enough money to go around. And yet, you still manage to find the dollars to go to the concert or to go out to eat or to buy a new outfit, probably with debt.
Mm-hmm.
If you firmly believe that your money problems will be solved with more money, then chances are this is a problem for you. You have too much of the pleasure energy. And this was basically my ex's philosophy. It was like, if I just got paid more money, if my boss wasn't so stingy, et cetera, then I would have enough money to go around. Because here's the thing, when there's not a firm foundation of safety and stability, you swing between brief moments of bliss and long periods of financial stress. It's high drama.
Yeah. It is emotional drama. It's the name of this podcast.
Yes. So if you're highly emotional about money, whether it's terrific or it's terrible, that's a sign that you have too much of this pleasure energy. And people with this tendency find people who are out of balance in the other direction very attractive.
For understandable reasons.
Yes. So if they find a partner who is overly responsible, especially when that person will bail them out, then that becomes the codependent dynamic, because that was essentially what happened to me. I was a very responsible person with my finances before I met my ex-fiance. He was just very persuasive at getting me to part with my money. I later found out in therapy that that's called emotional manipulation. But for people who have this tendency, the hardest thing for them to do and the most important thing for them to do is to acknowledge that their financial foundation is shaky and to take responsibility to start rectifying that. And sometimes they need help with that.
Yeah.
I will say frequently clients that come in to work with me, they will say, I have ignored this for way too long. I know I have a tendency to spend now and worry about where the money's coming from later, and this has got to stop. But they have to take responsibility and know that things have to change.
I'm not being flippant about this. This is actually a serious question. I have known people during the course of my life who had problems with substance abuse. For purposes of the discussion, money is going to be part of that, okay?
Yeah.
And I know that one of the most frustrating things in life is that when you have a friend who is experiencing substance abuse problems, it doesn't matter how much you tell them you've got a problem.
Yeah.
They have to come to it themselves. Is that true for you when people come into you? Do you sort of they need to have had that realization? Wow, I need to talk to somebody now.
Yes. Yeah. They have to want to change. And I will ask people straight up, I'll say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how willing are you to take steps now to change this? Because if they say less than an 8, I will say, look, you're not going to have success with my coaching program because my clients are action takers. I will walk with you on this journey to financial dignity, but I will not carry you and I will not drag you. That's a waste of my money and your money and both of our time. So that's not what we're doing here. And I will have people who say, oh, my brother needs you, or my son needs you, or, my sister-in-law needs you. Like, how can I convince them that they need you? And I'm like, you probably can't. So, but you can send them this podcast.
Oh, yes. Yes, you could, as a matter of fact. Let me ask the Dave Ramsey question here, right? When do you know that you're too Dave Ramsey, or in the parlance of this podcast at the moment?
Yes.
When do you know you're like dealing with a problem of too much provider energy in your finances?
Yes. Well, and we all know somebody like this. If you just think about Scrooge, right? We're recording this close to Christmas, and so Scrooge is top of mind. It's that man or woman who they just can't lighten up and have fun. They're rigid, they're controlling, they're overly fixated on money. It doesn't matter what the goal is, it's never enough. They say, oh, I'll have fun when. We'll take a family vacation when, and then it never happens because they're always moving that target.
Someday. Yes. Yeah, someday we'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
Dare to enter the Wealthy Woman Book Club, where answers exist to forbidden questions, where women of all ages and income secretly gather, where knowledge is shared, where possibilities are explored, where women claim their power. Dare to stay a spell in the Wealthy Woman Book Club. In this place, we lift each other up. In this place, we start dreaming again. In this place, we see financial miracles. In this place, we grow through the glory and the failure. In this place, we step into a new identity. Dare to champion the Wealthy Woman Book Club. We're creating a future where women are financially empowered across the globe. We're creating a future where our daughters stand on equal financial footing with our sons. We're creating a future where we purchase with our principles rather than price tags. We're creating a future where we use the power of money for the benefit of people and the planet. Welcome to the Wealthy Woman Book Club. Dare to come in, woman. Come in. Join us at wealthywomanbookclub.com.
Financial perfectionism is also a sure sign of provider energy. So if you have numerous rules for exactly how you must behave with money, or you insist that your partner do things the right way, right? If it's, well, no, when we budget, we have to use this tool. You likely have an imbalance. If you're not sure, just ask your significant other, because if you have a problem with this, they will tell you. They will absolutely tell you. So
do you
if
think
you
so,
have
really? Do you think so, really? Just sound like you know.
Yes. Yes, it's like they're usually like the buzzkill, the person that never lets you have any fun. So if you've been called Scrooge, or if you've been told to just live a little and lighten up, you probably do lack a healthy dose of pleasure energy in your personal finances, especially if the financial professionals in your life tell you that you are doing a great job and you are on track. So if your financial planner has told you, like, you guys are doing amazing, you're maxing everything out, you are on track for retirement, but you find that you still can't relax deep down inside, then you likely have too much of the provider energy. And many times there is a cause for that. Sometimes it can be because you grew up in financial chaos. So if your family growing up was constantly in a state of financial emergency, maybe your parents fought about money all the time, or there was never enough. As soon as you were old enough to be able to start taking control of money, if you got a job when you were 12 and began obsessively saving money because you thought, I don't ever want to be the way my parents are, or I had to take excessive responsibility, before my time for money because my family didn't have enough, it can have really deep roots. And so sometimes you may need to talk to a counselor or a financial therapist because there may be this deep-seated feeling of a lack of safety, really, around money. And you just think more and more money is going to cover that. So that's something to think about. You may need some outside help for that. The other thing that I have found to be helpful is setting aside a certain amount of money every month that you have to spend on something fun.
Ooh, I would bet that's hard, though, for somebody. I mean, we're talking about this Scrooge mentality. I don't know how you go, I got an idea. I'm going to put aside 5 cents next month for a vacation kind of thing. Yes. You see this, I'm sure, a lot in your practice. I mean, it's fun to talk about, but seriously, can you get people to do that?
Yeah, well, and it does definitely cause conflict in a relationship. So when you have one person who is more of this Scrooge mentality, and then you've got somebody who maybe isn't even on, off balance on the pleasure side of things, that they can be relatively balanced and they can tell their partner, like, look, we're doing all the responsible things. We can have some fun with this. That can cause conflict. And so, especially when we're tracking things, it's like I have to show them and reassure them and say, look, we're accomplishing everything that we need to accomplish. And it's okay that we earmark this amount for fun. And I want you to have some fun. And sometimes I can see where the one person is like, well, thank God I can have some fun with this money. And then the other person doesn't spend any of the fun money, but then they resent the other person who spent some of the fun money. So then it's like we got to kick into counselor mode. We have to kick into the, working on the mindset things. And sometimes I do have to refer some people out for counseling, whether it's, marriage counseling, or they do have some unresolved things from their childhood that need to be addressed. So we can certainly see that.
No, I can see that. I'm sure that it's both interesting and a challenge for you, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Well, it's no secret that my husband has more provider money than pleasure money. And I've had to work on him. I think we've talked about how it took him like 2 years for him to buy his midlife celebration car because he kept wrestling with, is it okay to really spend that much money on something that's pleasurable and not practical?
Right.
It's the first brand new car he's ever purchased. And he did that at age 52.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, it was actually hard for him. Wasn't hard for me.
You were like, please buy a new car.
I honestly got tired of him talking about, like, which one should he buy? And what about this? And what about this? I'm like, just buy the damn car already.
Just go buy the damn car, okay?
He has loosened up a little bit, but it's like, I know that's his tendency, and I do understand that he grew up in that financial chaos. And so he did have to be financially responsible, before he turned 18 in order to help out his family. And so understanding where that came from helps me to be sympathetic. And the other thing that we do is we have separate accounts for our spending money. So if he doesn't want to spend that money and he wants to let it build up, that's fine. Because we've already agreed on the amounts. And I'm perfectly comfortable because it's like, I know our emergency account is full. I mean, I've got an emergency account for the emergency account. So I've got probably 3 times as much money as we need in emergency savings. And that,
so you've got a good safety
good.
net underneath your trapeze act.
I've got a safety net for the safety net. We got a backup safety net. But to me, that means, okay, so with this other money, if I want to swing for the fences, I can, and I can do it without feeling guilty. And that's really what it's all about. And what's interesting is that the threads of provider and pleasure energy flow through all areas of our personal finance. So, it flows through the spending, the saving, the debt, the investing, all of that. So let's just talk about one of the areas and what that healthy balance looks like.
Yes.
Spending. This is the easy one to think about. When we think about spending in provider energy, this is paying the bills. This is the money that makes us feel safe and secure. This puts the roof over our head. This pays for the utilities. This puts the gas in the car, the food on the table. That's the provider money. That's the one that makes sure it's not fun to spend that money, right? But
no, nobody has a good time paying their gas bill or their electric bill. No, they don't. They feel good about being able to do it, but
Right. Yes. However, we can be grateful that we have the money to pay for those things.
Absolutely. Yes. Agree.
There's a book that I read quite some time ago by Pam Grout. It's called Thank and Grow Rich instead of Think and Grow Rich. And it's all about cultivating gratitude. Right. And one of the tips in there that she mentioned was whenever you pay a bill, this is when people would be mostly writing checks, is
right.
to write on the check in the memo with your account number, thank you. Like you are thanking God or the universe and or the provider, like, thank you. Like, you have provided heat for me. You have provided, fresh water when I turn on the tap. And just cultivating gratefulness for the fact that you have the money to pay for these basic things that support your safety and your security.
Yes.
And of course, we can very easily imagine the pleasure energy in our spending. This is the money that we get to spend on entertainment, going to concerts, going on vacations, having the nice dinners out, those things that enhance our life and bring enjoyment to it. But this runs through every single area of our personal finances. And it's not about either or. So it's not like, oh, I'm responsible and I pay the bills and you're irresponsible and you just go have the fun. Well, no, we can be both responsible, and fun. We can have both. We can have that healthy balance.
That's good. That's good because we should live sort of in that space, right?
Mm-hmm.
We should be taking care of the bills, grateful that you can pay the bills, and then grateful you have money to just go have fun with.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and I love that you brought up the point about balancing these two things, because balancing these two energies in your personal finances, this is not a one and done deal. It's not like, okay, I'm going to get in here and I'm going to balance this and then we're done.
Done.
It's not how it works.
Done. We're done.
Because our financial variables are constantly changing. Whether it's, we get a pay cut, or, we no longer have overtime available, or we've got this extra expense and, now the kids are going into all these sports and then we've got these extra expenses. So I like to say that balancing these two energies is like surfing on the ocean.
Mm.
So essentially, if you think about being on a surfboard, you have the water shifting underneath of you, and you have to shift your balance. So it looks very effortless when you see a seasoned surfer on a surfboard. And it's because shifting their weight in response to what's going on underneath the surfboard and around them has become second nature. I took a surfing lesson in Hawaii when my husband and I went quite a few years ago. And thankfully, we were wakeboarders. So we had some practice with water sports and with maintaining your balance, standing up on something in the water. Not an easy task. But like when you
I'm
watch...
laughing because I fell down when I tried to ski. I was just like, I just kept going.
When you watch, it's funny. So like when you watch people doing the lesson, right? Because we had this group lesson. I think there were 5 or 6 of us there. And you're watching other people. It's like they're just focusing on not falling off the board, right? It like takes everything in them because it's uncomfortable and they don't have practice doing it. The more you practice balancing these energies, the easier it's going to be. And the more second nature you will be able to respond to what's shifting in your environment relative to your finances. So it's a process, and it's honestly something you're going to have to keep constantly adjusting throughout your life. I always love the analogies between health and wealth, because these are two things that you are going to have to deal with your entire life. And there are things that can rob you of your health and your wealth that are not your fault, that are environmental factors, right? You can't control if you catch a cold. You can't control if you lose your job, right? So it's really all about how can I be as physically and financially healthy as possible so that I can handle whatever comes at me. And that's really what it's all about. It's really what it's all about. And for those of you who really want to go deep into this discussion, we've got the links for my newest book, Provider Money, Pleasure Money.
Excellent.
And you can get the roadmap for balancing these two energies through all of the areas of your personal finances.
2 things. One, they can reach out and read the book, buy the book, read it.
Yes.
2, they can actually reach out and contact you if they are so moved, thinking maybe they've had a little realization in the midst of this podcast. Perhaps they need to talk to somebody.
Yes.
How would they do that?
Yeah, hop over to my website. It's my name, ChristineLuken.com. And if you click on the coaching tab, you can find out all about coaching and schedule your free chat with me.
Fantastic. And for listeners, in the show notes, there will be links to the Provider Money, Pleasure Money book that you can go to. You can, in fact, buy it on Amazon if you choose. But the link is in the show notes.
Oh, I almost forgot.
What's that?
I almost forgot. There is a free reflection journal that goes along with the book. You can find that on my website. So if you go to ChristineLuken.com and click on books and click on Provider Money, Pleasure Money, you can get that free reflection journal. And there also is a meditation that will help reprogram subliminally and help you balance those two energies.
Free. That means it doesn't cost me any money.
That is correct.
So just go to your website. Say, can you get that whether you bought the book or not? I mean, obviously, it's going to be a benefit to you if you have the book. I mean,
Yes, absolutely.
All right, great. So you can reach out to Christine there. The other thing you can do is you can become a subscriber to this podcast. Yes, you can. It's easy. Just hit the follow button. That way you don't miss another episode. Every time Christine drops a new episode, you're notified and you can listen to it. And, if you like this podcast, if you find it helpful, or if you think maybe you know somebody who would benefit from listening to this podcast, share it with them, please. Word of mouth is very effective. It's a very effective tool in terms of promoting things. And maybe, look at it as giving somebody a free, clue card if they maybe think maybe they need one. Okay. Please do that. So until next time, I'm Bill Tucker. And as always, it's a pleasure being with Christine. Christine, happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas. And thank you for this episode. It's terrific. Thanks so much. So until next time, I want to remind everybody that you can go out today and make today a great day. Or not. It's up to you. It is your choice. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Money is Emotional podcast. To get in touch, visit our website at www.christineluken.com or drop us a line at hello@christineluken.com. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Christine Luken. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing or tax advice. Always seek the advice of your advisor, tax professional, or other qualified financial professional with any questions you may have regarding your personal finances.